Last October, by the way, as those caravans were approaching the U.S. border, on this show, I warned of something that was being lost in the greater debate. Watch. This is a national security issue, an economic issue, costs taxpayers billions of dollars to take all these people in, public schools, health care, all of what we know. It's a health issue, too, because we don't know what people have coming in here. We have diseases in this country we haven't had for decades. Well, the backlash I received was swift. I was immediately vilified for saying such a thing. How dare I? Business Insider called it a conspiracy theory, and the Washington Post said it was dehumanizing. Well, wouldn't you know it? Today, Reuters reported, or yesterday, excuse me, that outbreaks of infectious diseases among migrants, including cases of the mumps, measles, etc., have forced over 2,000 of them into quarantine at various detention centers across the country. So my question, will those critics now go after Reuters? Is it all dehumanizing? Joining me now to discuss this way beyond mumps is Mark Siegel. Dr. Siegel, I was flayed for warning about this, but this is a real health risk to American citizens, especially American school children, is it not?
Absolutely right, Laura. You know, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement has their hands full, 50,000 in detention centers, and as you just pointed out, over 2,000 now in quarantine. Mumps travels through the air. Mumps, you may not have symptoms and you're spreading it. Measles as well. Also chickenpox. Also, there's cases of tuberculosis being found. You know, the biggest issue is that the Centers for Disease Control will screen legal immigrants. You're not allowed into this country legally unless they check your measles, mumps, rubella titer, chickenpox. You have to prove that you've received the vaccine and that it's working. Well, CDC told me tonight that they're playing catch-up now. ICE is going to have to call them in to the quarantine people and to revaccinate them to check to see if their immune status is there. You're absolutely right calling this a public health emergency. That's part of the problem here. It's a big part of the problem, and it ties in with national security. Multiple diseases are coming in with the migrants.
Well, Dr. Siegel, also, when someone comes in and you say, well, have you been vaccinated? I mean, how are you going to ever check that? I mean, you can't really, there's no like legitimate way to check, like call Honduras. Well, has X, Y, or Z gotten, you know, the various tetanus shots? I mean, you can't really check that, right? We have enough problems, I think, with people in the country not being vaccinated, that big controversy. But now this, I mean, we are overwhelmed. And they're going to vilify Alex Azar at HHS, the secretary of HHS. What is he supposed to do? The Democrats don't want to deal with this issue. He's left to pick up the pieces.
By the way, Laura, you not only can't check it and you can't take someone's word for it, because of course they're going to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. But also, it wears off. This vaccine wears off, especially with mumps. And, you know, mumps can cause infertility. It can cause brain swelling. So these are not just minor childhood diseases we're talking about. We're seeing a measles resurgence mainly across the border. And then people that don't get vaccinated, like you said, people that refuse to get vaccinated, it spreads like wildfire to the unvaccinated population. This is a threat, a public health threat. Also, mosquito-borne diseases. There's 400,000 cases of malaria coming in. Tuberculosis. So I don't know why the left doesn't want to talk about it. It's it's an actual issue.
But again, back to the point I made in the angle. They do not want to have a debate on these issues because they can't debate it. All they can say is you're racist, you're xenophobic, you're dehumanizing, you're cruel, you're mean. That's all they have. Because if you get down to the facts, they are putting Americans at risk, and Trump and his policies are actually geared, Dr. Siegel, toward keeping our people safe. That's his first and most solemn obligation, to keep the American people safe, and he's trying to do that. He's not perfect. None of us are. Listen, but he's trying to do that.
Laura, the CDC, who's really nonpartisan, calls this playing catch-up. They're in the country, then we got to figure out what diseases they may carry. That says it all. That says it all.
Dr. Siegel, thank you so much.
Laura.